I tell you a story? This one is about a ghost, a thief, and a talking parrot. And it's on the longer side, so you may want to take an extra moment to get comfortable this time. And while you are taking that extra moment to get comfortable, I will tell you that this podcast and these stories are supported by patrons. So if these stories feed you and you would like to offer something back and become a patron too, you can do that on patreon.com/Can I Tell You a Story, which is patreon.com/Can I Tell You a Story. And you will receive bonus stories and behind the scenes things and more things, which you can check out on this site. Now, I hope that you've taken an extra moment to get comfortable and you are extra comfortable. Let's begin. For a time, all is confusion, a crash, a hazy memory of a misstep, a flash of something blue and slippery sliding out from underfoot, a feather, a jolt, a sudden close-up view of tiles, the grout in between black tile and white tile, like a valley underneath an open eye. An aching head, unwillingly imagining the valley between the tiles filling with blood, but the eye closes before the vision is made real. A memory of being bored and cold for a long time despite the humid air. And then a light, a bright light, the brightest light. Everything was light and it was beautiful, it was transcendent. And then the catch. The invitation to leave all earthly cares behind. Like that was something to be sought. Oh no. I didn't spend all this time accumulating earthly cares. I didn't spend all this time researching the arcane and the occult, weeding through snake oil and charlatans, searching for even just a single grain of truth. To leave them behind. Not before I'm good and ready. And with the willingness of the lady, that will never be, because all of that effort is for one thing. I am going to live forever. I'm ready? Who is this I that is living forever, ready or not? The ghost of Emilie Underhamer, the owner of the kind of wealth that makes one eccentric instead of merely mad, looks down. I can see through myself. My heavens, and Lady Luck herself, this is not good. For a time, Emilie is lost for words, looking right through her own outspread hands. Smaller crashes, a far-off door, a quiet pause, the occasional creak of a step from a foot that doesn't know the floor it's walking, a closer door, another pause. A bookshelf bumped, a shrine disturbed, the gold-covered statue of Lady Luck teetering before falling to black and white tiles. It doesn't smash. Eyes following the fallen idol to the body on the floor, a sharp intake of breath, a half-uttered curse spilling from a coarse mouth, the pop of bending knees, fingers searching awkwardly for a pulse, finding none. A short exhale, a shrug, not my problem, distancing. A pragmatic decision made, can't get caught if the catcher hasn't a pulse. A case of tools lowered to the tiles with a clack. Silence before muttering. Patience, a little more. Come on, sweetheart, we'll get you open. Let's hear those sweet tumblers of yours click into place. Just a little more and you'll swing open for me, and then we'll see what's hiding here, won't we? Patience. Body's not going to tell a soul on account of being dead, see? A different voice, shrill and avian. Biscuits, walk the plank! A startled exclamation, a curse, scrunched paper thrown at an unexpected parrot. The parrot, perched on an ornate stand in a dark corner of the room, catches it and tears it to shreds, hopping from foot to foot. Oh, shiver me timbers. Just a bird, Irrelevant. The thief ignores the parrot, drawn back to the thick steel door of the safe, like a lover back to bed. There's a faint sound from inside the door, and the thief sighs and smiles. "Ah, beauty," he says, as the heavy door swings slowly outwards. A satisfied exclamation. The thief's gaze is adoring. The safe is full of boxes, stacked cases of jewels resting on satin pillows, all manner of precious objects that glitter and shine. Buried at the back he finds a ring that looks like nothing, a gaudy trinket, nestled among a small stack of gold bars. The thief slides the ring on his finger, a memento. Sentimental things are often mixed with the truly valuable, precious only to their owners. "Avast! Biscuits! Magic parrot! Magic parrot! Biscuits and brine! Now you are mine!" Ignoring the bird, the thief rifles through the rest of the contents in the safe, looking for something that he'd been told would look like sand. Finding nothing that fits this description, he flicks through a pile of papers on the top shelf of the safe. Varied correspondence, deeds and bonds, a thick creamy envelope with ornate lettering on the front. Last will and testament. The thief eyes the body, cold on the tiles. Well now, is this a gift from Lady Luck herself? The envelope isn't sealed, and it contains a single page. He scans it, picking out the important bits. "In the event of my untimely demise, it is my wish and decree that everything mine goes to my beloved parrot. Should he perish, it passes in turn to the Pirate Orphans Charity, in a donation under my name. The name printed underneath the overdone signature is Mistress Emilie Underhamer." The thief eyes the parrot. "Well now, who's a pretty parrot?" he says. "I do believe you're the richest bird I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. When the lady gives you a gift, my friend, it doesn't do to refuse it. I believe I'm at your service, and I believe you will be very much at mine." "Oh," says the parrot, "biscuits." The thief, a man of many talents, rests the will on the green leather surface of the desk and forges an addendum in a fluid and graceful copy of the handwriting on the page. "I hereby appoint my agent." The thief pauses, trying to come up with a suitable name. "Mr. Maximilian Haberville, as the spokesperson and caretaker of—" "What's your name, bird?" "Walk the plank," says the parrot. Helpful, aren't you? The thief looks more carefully at the parrot, brilliant red, blue and green feathers bobbing up and down on its perch. The perch has Lancelot written on it. "Lancelot?" he asks. "That's your name?" He returns to the will. "Spokesperson and caretaker of Lancelot the parrot, charged with keeping him in the manner to which he is accustomed. To this end, Maximilian is given sole use of the house and grounds until such time as Lancelot meets his natural end." A gift from Lady Luck indeed, not just enough gold to purchase respectability, but a house into the bargain. Unlucky for the deceased is lucky for me, and so the lady bestows her favour. A shudder runs through the ghost, and she looks up from her own transparency and takes in the room for the first time. The body on the floor, the open safe, the scattered contents, the thief. The thief! "Who are you?" "Who are you?" echoes the parrot. The thief starts. "Me? I'm your new best friend and caretaker, bird buddy. You and I are going to paint this town red. No more scrounging for scraps thrown down from the table of Lady Luck. From today we're self-made men, and the lady will dine at our table." "Well, fuck," says the ghost, jumping to conclusions. "Killed by an uncouth miscreant who doesn't recognise the power of what he holds in his hands? Who dares to invoke the name of the lady as if she would ever dine at his table? Insubordination! Outrage!" "Well, fuck," echoes the parrot. "Too right," says the thief. Oblivious to the ghost, frothing and wringing her hands, he eyes the body cold on the floor. "Now what do you suppose we do with that? In and out, that's me. Best job is a job done fast. Disposing of bodies is complicated business that tends to backfire in predictable sorts of ways, which is why I don't go in for that kind of messy work. Still, know a bloke who owes a favour or two. When it's full dark, I'll go see about a few things, my feathered friend. He sighs. Newly respectable gentleman such as myself shouldn't be concerning himself with such menial labour. Bird, we'll get ourselves a man what does, first thing. Then the mucky work is someone else's problem. Delegating, I think I'll come to like it. He waves a hand, the gaudy ring glinting on his finger. Sort it out, would you, parrot? He smiles. Just like that. Hawk, says the parrot, rum and accidents. The parrot ruffles its feathers and an icy breeze whispers through the room, a breeze that feels like it's from a place that knows snow, not from this island of close, sweltering days and humid, sticky nights. The breeze meanders through the room like a curious house guest, wafting under furniture and through the leaves of potted plants, behind the pictures, and across the expensive green rug, gently reorganising reality, and by the time the breeze has blown through, the body on the floor is no longer there. The thief looks up. When you said magic parrot earlier, Hawk, biscuits and brine, now you are mine, walk the plank. Lady, breathes the thief, round-eyed, fingertips braced against the surface of the desk, trying to hold reality together with his shaking hands. The ghost of Emilie Underhamer, after a momentary panic watching her body disappear, settles when it seems her ghostly form is not going to follow suit. She glares at the thief and takes 2 fast steps across the rug and slaps him hard across the jaw. Her hand goes straight through his face. The thief startles, shaking himself, and takes a breath. Keep moving, he thinks. Ignore the things you cannot explain. Parrot, he says. I gotta go see a guy about a thing now that I'm a wealthy man. Maximilian Haberville is about to make an entrance and requires some accoutrements. And while I'm out, I'll inform my client there is no sand in this safe, enchanted or otherwise. Alchemists, they're all at least 1 step to the left of sane. Stay put, bird. Scurvy dog, says the parrot. Biscuits. I'll bring you back some biscuits, promises the thief. Here, take care of this for me. He removes the ring and drops it into the little dish attached to the parrot's perch. A wise thief doesn't display anything he's recently stolen. It's surprising how often someone happens to notice Great Aunt Martharine's tacky plate jewellery and raise a fuss. Lady Luck helps those who help themselves. The thief takes a gold bar from the safe and hefts it in his hand as he heads to the back door. Emilie lunges after him, trailing him from the room in an awkward, drifting half-walk. She follows the thief outside, through the lush garden of exotic plants, until she comes up hard against the tall stone fence, like she's just walked into a wall. The thief vaults the fence and lands lightly in the alley behind the house. Try what she will and curse as she may, the ghost of Emilie Underhamer can't leave. Biscuits and brine, says the parrot to the empty room, hopping from foot to foot. He's not alone for long. Emilie reappears, looking like a snarling whirlwind, flying limbs and lace petticoats, trying to throw things across the room, trying to tear down the walls, managing only to gently stir the leaves of the potted palms. She screeches an incoherent howl of rage. I was almost there! I had it! The fountain of youth! The elixir of eternal life. I was going to live forever. Forever means nothing if I have no influence. It's captivity. It's torture. She notices the parrot, bobbing on his perch. You! Magic parrot! Magic nothing! I saved your sorry feather-brained neck, and this is how you repay me? Where did you take my body? There has to be a way back. This can't be it. I will not be trapped in this house with an upstart thief who's buying respectability with my money. I will not. I held eternal life in my hand. And now look at me. Through you, says the parrot. The ghost snarls and lunges for the bird, translucent arms flailing. The parrot jumps from its perch and hops out the half-open window, easily fitting between the ornate iron bars that were meant to deter thieves. Emilie grabs hold of a tail feather and finds herself lifted up, Over the perimeter, the island laid out before her, lit up and glittering in the twilight. It's so unlike anything she's ever seen before, and so beautiful she forgets to wonder how she passed through the barrier that she couldn't cross in the garden below. "Orc," says the parrot, flying towards the town. "Avast!" The parrot alights on a third-floor windowsill in the Scoundrel's quarter, tapping on the glass with its beak. A flickering light from an oil lamp does little to illuminate the room inside. A moment later the window opens with a faint creak of wood on wood, the paint having long since flaked away. "Ah, Mercury," says a voice, deep and smooth. "Mercury?" says the ghost to the parrot. "Your name is Mercury? But Lancelot! You never said—" She glares at the bird, who hops from foot to foot. "Orc," he says, "biscuits and brine." "What's this?" asks the voice from the shadows. "You've brought me a ghostling. Hello, little ghost. What are you doing haunting my parrot?" "Your parrot? I'll have you know—" "Shh," says the voice, and Emilie is so surprised at being told to shh that she does exactly that. The question of parrot ownership knocked completely out of her mind. There's so much newness coming at her from all directions, it's hard to keep track of it all. "Not long a ghost, I see," continues the voice, "and clever of you to figure out how to leave your haunting. Most of you take years to discover that." Emilie narrows her eyes and doesn't say that she didn't do it on purpose and doesn't know what she did. Something about hanging onto the parrot, presumably. Emilie had been told a long time ago by numerous exasperated governesses that there is value in keeping quiet on occasion. Not many occasions, granted, but it's conceivable they exist. Finding yourself thrust unwillingly into the middle of a new game where you don't know the rules, the other players, or the stakes, strikes her as possibly the time to start exploring the exercising of silence. The man steps forward to the window. His eyes are dark and bright. Emilie glares at him. The man doesn't seem to notice, reaching out a hand to scratch the parrot's head. "In the daylight, no one will see you, little ghostling," he says. "At night, people will see hints and flashes. They will startle at half-seen reflections. They will ask each other, 'Did you see that?'" Emilie grows cold. That's almost as bad as being captive in her own home. "No," she says, thinking fast. "That's not how it goes, at all." The man raises an eyebrow. "I was going to live forever," she says, her vow of silence already forgotten as waves of hope and despair flutter through her. She's so deep in her own spontaneous reorganizing of her future that she doesn't notice the intensity of the man's gaze sharpen. "Going to live forever, were you?" he repeats carefully. The parrot makes small sounds of satisfaction as it claws its way up the man's arm towards his shoulder. "Well, obviously not now," says Emilie, thinking out loud. "Now there's been a change of plan. First, of course, vengeance. Second, I will be the Night Queen, revered by all, feared by many, ruling over dreams, desires, and darkness. The lady's handmaiden, if you will. And they will see me. They will all see me." The man's gaze is thoughtful, assessing. "I might be able to help you with that," he says, "if, in turn, you help me." "With?" Emilie snaps out of her reverie long enough to frown at the impertinence of one such as he asking a favour of one such as her. If she were alive, he'd be counting himself lucky to fall at her feet. And now, a trade of favours, like someone common, like a criminal. Emilie has always paid others to do whatever they needed to do for her to have what she wanted. Someone fluent in the hierarchical intricacies of trading favours in the Scoundrel's quarter. Someone to keep their eyes on the road while she was wholly absorbed in the delightful dream. "You mentioned living forever," says the man. Emilie tilts her chin up and looks down her nose at him. "Can you bring me back?" "No, little ghostling. Once you've crossed that final border, there is no power, light or dark, that will bring you back across. His gaze is frank and holds no secrets, and against her wishes Emilie finds herself believing him. She suppresses a sigh, hope petering out and turning to despair, which there is no time for, with a new, better opportunity right there on the other side of the windowsill to create herself anew as the Night Queen. Live forever? Who would want that in a fallible human body? Emilie couldn't think of anything worse. She sets all her considerable determination towards her new direction. Very well, she says. Help me find vengeance and become the lady's handmaiden, and I'll give you what I know. Biscuits, says the parrot. Brine and glory rot. In the streets below, the thief takes turn after twisting turn through the tangle of lanes and alleys, courtyards and archways, voices and music and chaos of the Scoundrel's Quarter, until he reaches a red wooden door. If he'd looked up at just that moment through the thick and heavy twilight, he might have noticed a hazy figure sitting above him on a third-floor windowsill, deep in conversation with a man with a parrot on his shoulder. A parrot that looks remarkably like the parrot the thief had told to stay put not so very long ago. But he does not look up. The thief knocks on the red wooden door. He knows the scuffling sound from within to be the sound of someone shuffling forward to peer through the crack in the planks that serves as a peephole. The door opens, and the thief steps inside and shakes hands with a man in a faded vest with a ragged blue trim along the bottom. This man is a man who knows a man who knows a man, and he takes the gold bar from the thief's outstretched hand and passes it through a ratty curtain into another hand. In due course, the gold bar is returned in the form of money the thief can spend, less a percentage for no questions asked. It wasn't there, says the thief, while they wait for this process to take place. Tell him, he jerks his head, indicating the man who occupies upstairs. Tell him there was no sand in the safe. Nothing like sand at all. The man in the faded vest offers a terse nod, not pleased at having to be the bearer of bad news. Of course, if you'll consider an additional 10%, I'd be willing to extend the job, says the thief. I'm assuming he'll find me in the usual incomprehensible way if my terms are acceptable. Alchemists. The man spits on the floor. Never associate with alchemists. I'll tell him. He holds out a hand. The thief looks at the hand. What? Says the man. I know you just came into quite a lot of money. You remember this, says the thief, dropping a generous coin into the still waiting hand. The thief leaves by a different door into a different street, with his newly changed wealth strapped in a stocking down the inside of his leg and his pockets still empty. This is the Scoundrel's Quarter after all, and pickpockets are irrelevant if there's nothing in your pockets to pick. He whistles as he walks, the sound a kind of anchor to hold back the tide of impossible events he's attempting to ignore. Forward, he thinks. Just keep moving forward. Don't look back. The climate on the island lends itself to midday siestas and business being conducted well into the night, so the streets are brightly lit and alive with people. He leaves the familiar smells and sounds of the Scoundrel's Quarter and finds himself on Main Street, in the rich part of town. He walks the street, gradually emulating the stride of the men he passes until he moves like he belongs there, despite his clothing, which won't be a problem for very much longer. He pushes open the door of a tailor. The bell above the door rings, and the thief stops whistling. The tailor, a man balding early who carries himself with an air of importance that immediately grates on the thief, looks him up and down. I don't know you, he says, implying that the thief must therefore not be worth knowing, and by extension, not worth doing business with. I know you, says the thief. The tailor raises an eyebrow. You were at the Scoundrel's Ball, wearing a mask of silver scales like a fish. Exquisite craftsmanship. The thief walks a well-practiced line between flattery and threat. The tailor draws a sharp breath. Etiquette dictates that no one recognises anyone from the scoundrel's ball, and so he can't be hearing what he's hearing. The thief watches the internal argument play out across the tailor's face. "I see," he says after a moment. "And what would the gentleman be requiring this evening?" "Understated elegance," says the thief. "I want those who play the game to know that I could buy the game, and I want those who don't play it to be unable to place me." The tailor inclines his head. "I believe I can facilitate such a thing. Would the gentleman require anything else?" "A cane with a sword in it, quality steel, not just a dandy's toy, and a half cape in a dark fabric lined in gold." The thief shrugs a shoulder. "For vanity's sake." "And your absolute discretion, under the usual conditions." The tailor swallows. There's no way to know if this questionable gentleman is bluffing. Is he as influential as he's implying, or merely a pretender? The tailor decides on discretion, for now. "Of course, and I should have these sent to—" The tailor, fishing for information, trails off. "I'll send a man for them," says the thief. "Of course," says the tailor again, with well-masked disappointment, pulling his tape measure from around his neck in a practised movement. "If the gentleman could please step this way for measuring." "So," says the man at the third-floor window to the ghost. "Vengeance. Let's begin there. Please, come in." "Yes," says the ghost, eyes bright, drifting through the wall beside the window and into the room. Curious, she thinks. I can walk through walls if I'm haunting a parrot, but not if I'm trying to leave my house. There are benefits to haunting something mobile, as long as one controls where it mobiles to. Otherwise that could get quite inconvenient. The room is sweltering. It's hung with heavy curtains lined with overfull bookshelves, a corner containing a lived-in looking easy chair. To one side is a table covered in a jumble of jars and bottles, scraps of paper, stacks of books with pages marked, with more scraps of paper, a small brazier giving off a strange and musky scent, a large round dish filled with dark liquid. "You're an alchemist," says Emilie. "The alchemist," corrects the alchemist. "Tell me about vengeance." "He's got to pay," says Emilie, easily distracted. "The one who murdered me, taking my house, my wealth." "Upstart! This is wholly inconvenient." "Who murdered you? You know him?" The alchemist's eyes shine in the dim room. "Know him? No, I'd never seen him before I came to like this," she says, gesturing at her transparent form. "Grubby fingers in my safe. Of course, he was trying to find the secret to eternal life. Though joke's on him, because he was looking in the wrong safe." "Was he now?" says the alchemist. "What would you like to have happen to him?" "Oh," says Emilie. "I thought that was something you figured out." "I see," says the alchemist. "Of course, you're the sort who pays others to do that kind of thinking for you." "Well, yes," says Emilie, surprised. "That's what the Scoundrel's Quarter is for, isn't it?" The alchemist merely bows his head. "Very well," he says. "Leave it with me." He carefully sets the dish containing the dark liquid on a stand over a small lamp. The liquid starts to seethe and bubble. The alchemist puts a fine glass straw into a green bottle, pressing a finger over the open end of the straw to hold the liquid inside, as he raises it out of the bottle and releases a small amount into the dish. The seething stills, and there on the surface is an image of the thief, leaving a shop on Main Street, walking into the night. Emilie gasps. "That's him!" She frowns. "How did you find him so quickly?" The alchemist laughs. "So mistrustful, little ghostling. Death causes ripples. It's common that those ripples wash through anyone who is nearby as someone crosses from this world. Those filaments can be picked up through a particular kind of scrying. He gestures at the dish. And, he adds, Lady Luck always has a hand. Perhaps she's smiling on her new handmaiden. Shiver me timbers, says the parrot. Fables and fantasy! Emilie is transfixed, watching the thief stop and buy roasted nuts from a street vendor. Yes, she says. Oh, says the parrot, bouncing on both feet. Biscuits and brine. Now, let's do something about having you more consistently corporeal, says the alchemist. He starts setting up some complicated-looking equipment and tips clear liquid into a sphere in the middle of the tangle of glass. It has a sheen to it like moonlight. You'll need to pass through this, he tells her. Emilie feels herself drawn into the glass tube in a feeling not unlike having her breath taken by the wind. The liquid is cool and viscous and fizzes slightly as she passes through it. When she's out the other side, she looks down at her own hands. I look the same, she says. Look in the mirror, says the alchemist, gesturing further into the room, where a dressing mirror on a stand is half hidden by one of the curtains. Emilie gapes. I'm glowing. I look like I'm made of moonlight. This is what people will see? Yes, says the alchemist. Now, little ghostling, I have some business to attend to. Perhaps you would care to return tomorrow at twilight and we can finalize our bargain, O Night Queen. His bow is mocking, but Emilie is too caught up by her reflection to notice the gleam in the alchemist's eyes. No rest, says the parrot. Biscuits and brine. He hops to the windowsill and is away into the night almost before Emilie can grab hold of a tail feather. The thief pauses to put the bag of roasted nuts into his empty pocket and finds that it's no longer empty. He pulls out a fortune cookie. He deliberately doesn't look around, trying instead to maintain an air of unconcern and, because of long practice, mostly succeeding. He breaks the cookie and lets the pieces fall to the ground. He reads the small slip of paper. There is more than one safe, it says. Try again. Emilie and the newly minted and slightly shaken Maximilian Haberville arrive back at the house at the same time. The parrot lands on its perch and ruffles its feathers. For once, it doesn't say anything. Emilie flies at the thief, who steps backwards in shock, hands fumbling behind him for support. His suspension of disbelief is starting to feel like the camel's back, and this job just keeps handing him straws. Ha! You can see me now, thief! Murderer! This was, for the thief, the best thing Emilie could have said. A clear lie to argue against, so he doesn't have to think about being able to see straight through the woman he's arguing with. Murderer? I've never murdered anyone in my life. Thief, yes, it's honest work, but murder? No, thank you. I am not the killing sort. Liar! You had your grubby fingers in my safe when I woke up like this. I know it was you. The thief looks at the ghost properly for the first time. The body on the floor, he says. It was you. You were dead when I came in. You were less glowy. You weren't supposed to be here at all. I had it on good authority you were to be at Lady Mosley's bridge party. I had a headache, says Emilie, with a sour expression on her face. Lady Mosley's soirees were known far and wide to be interminably dull. You looked like you had more than a headache when I got here. If, and I'm not saying I believe you, mind, but if you didn't kill me, then who did? I didn't see sign of no one. I was looking very carefully on account of not wanting to get caught myself. Sure you don't remember anything else before you died? Emilie huffs out a breath, ignoring the way that the thief's accent wobbles between pure scoundrel's quarter and something not unlike her late grandfather. At the time, I was rather busy losing consciousness and being bothered by white lights proposing dreadful things, but I remember falling On the ground. A feather. It was blue. Emilie and the thief turned to look at the parrot, its long blue tail feathers hanging down the back of its perch. Lancelot, says the thief. Mercury, says Emilie at the same time. Mercury? I thought his name was Lancelot. Well, I called him that when I rescued him, but it turns out he belongs to the man who helped me find you. A man helped you find me here in your own house? That must have taken some doing. What is his bird doing in your house? I thought it was my bird. I mean, I rescued him. He was stuck in the bars over the window trying to make love to his own reflection. Silly thing. She looks fondly at the parrot. He told me he'd help me if I helped him live forever. The thief looks at the bars over the window, the ones which are obviously much wider than the bird hopping from foot to foot on his perch. He looks at the bird. The bird wants to live forever? Emilie glares at him. No, the man wants to live forever. He's an alchemist. An alchemist. I see. The heavy weight of suspicion starts to settle in the thief's mind. What's he giving you in exchange? Vengeance. On you, I thought. On me. Suspicion starts to coagulate into something more solid, sickening and heavy. That would be convenient. Well, I hope you're reconsidering that. He was going to take care of that bit for me. The messy bit. He was he? The world goes thick around the thief for a moment, and the air is almost too hard to breathe. This alchemist... He was also going to help me be the Night Queen, says Emilie. Handmaiden to Lady Luck. Handmaiden to... Is that even possible? No one is exempt from the attention of the lady. That's how the lady works. I think you are being sold empty promises. Walk the plank. Oh, says the thief to the parrot. Here, I brought you some nuts. He takes his gaudy stolen ring from the dish attached to the parrot's perch and puts it in his pocket, exchanging it for roasted nuts. Biscuits and brine, magic parrot, walk the plank. The parrot makes happy crunching noises. Emilie, says the thief slowly, I have 2 questions for you. I was hired by someone who is very interested in my acquiring something that looked a lot like grains of sand. Living forever wouldn't happen to involve something like that, would it? Emilie goes very still. And the second question? I saw the will in the safe. You left everything to the bird that turns out to belong to the alchemist who desires to live forever. What will? Ah, I see. I believe we're being played by the same man, an alchemist. He said he wasn't an alchemist, he said he was the alchemist. He was quite particular about that. All traces of suspicion vanish, leaving in their wake fully cooked certainty with a side of nightmarish dread. The alchemist? The alchemist? You're sure? We're fucked. That alchemist is the unofficial official head of the Scoundrel's Quarter, the most powerful and most ruthless man on the island. Rumour has it that he's cheated Lady Luck herself, and she's been searching for a way to repay that slight for years, but he stays one step ahead. The bloody alchemist. No one's ever even seen his face. I've seen it. The thief ignores her. Oh, sweet Lady Luck, if there's ever been a time to turn your shining face my way, this is that time. Och, biscuits, rabies and revenge. All right, think fast, Maximilian. Who's Maximilian? I am, or at least I will be when my new clothes arrive. This job was meant to be my ticket out of small-time thieving and into something more, a bigger pond. But not this kind of pond. Maximilian Haberville, probably Esquire. He'd know how to get out of this. Come on, Maximilian, think. You're talking to the imaginary self that you're trying to buy your way into? Oh, good. The thief shoots Emilie a dark look. Focus! I'm a dead man and you're going to fade into perpetual incorporeal insignificance if we don't find a way out of this. Help me think or shut up. You don't get to tell me to shut... Och! Thunder and catastrophe! Biscuits! Emilie? the thief says quietly. You have a magic parrot. He's not my magic parrot, apparently. He got rid of your body when I asked him. Magic parrot, take care of the alchemist for us, would you? Walk the plank, biscuits and brine, now you are mine. Nothing happens. The thief sighs. Maybe it only works on corpses. This is going to be it, isn't it? I'm not going to get to be the Night Queen, says Emilie in a small voice. And you're going to be dead. In unison, they slide down to sit on the floor, lost in unhappy thoughts. There's a complicated knock at the back door. Oh, says the thief. That'll be my clothes. Already? I tipped the tailor an exorbitant amount to have every staff member he had working on them. I was trying to make a point about how much money I had to throw around, he says, heaving himself off the floor and going to answer the door. Orc, gold and goosebumps. A stranger returns to the room. He's dressed in understated elegance with danger in his pockets. In one hand is a simple wooden cane with a silver handle. A half-cape hangs from his shoulders, thrown back to show off golden lining. On his finger is the ring that looks like a gaudy trinket, but with the rest of the ensemble, it works. The ghost of Emilie Underhamer scrambles to her feet. Magic parrot? Mistress Underhamer, says the stranger, bowing slightly. Maximilian Haberville, probably Esquire, at your service. Orc, says the parrot, biscuits and brine, now you are mine. That ring, says Emilie. Maximilian reflexively puts his hand in his pocket. I've seen it somewhere, she says. It wasn't in your safe, was it? No, I mean I've seen it. Drat. It's in that painting of Lady Luck, here. The ghost gestures to the shrine on the shelf, the golden statue still lying on the floor, staring at the ceiling with glinting sapphire eyes. At the back of the shrine is an image of the lady dressed all in blue. On her finger is a gaudy silver ring. You know the story? She keeps the souls of those who displease her in the ring, and they can't get out until they grant her a wish. But she's Lady Luck, so what need has she for wishes? She never lets them go. Maximilian takes his hand out of his pocket and studies the ring. I was wearing this when your body disappeared. I wished it was gone. It's not just the alchemist who's playing us. And the lady, when she plays, she wins. Maximilian picks the statue up off the floor and sets it carefully back in the centre of the shrine, touching its feet for luck. The alchemist isn't the only one leaving things in your safe, he says. I have a proposition for you, he says to Emilie, thoughts flying. You and we could rule the Scoundrel's Quarter. Think of it. The Night Queen, maid of moonlight, revered by all, feared by many, ruling over their dreams, desires, and darkness. I will walk behind the scenes. You're the face, I'm the hands. The island will be ours. Emilie glows brighter, lighting the room like moonlight, picturing the scene in her mind. They won't even see us coming, she says, until they're blinded by us. Too right, says Maximilian, smiling. Do you have a plan? Emilie, what is the magic sand the alchemist wants from you so badly? Grains of truth, says Emilie, looking at the floor. He wants the grains of truth. The grains of truth, says Maximilian, a single grain of which will give whoever ingests it godlike powers of perception into the secrets of men and the mystery, such that the Lady Luck herself perpetually smiles upon them. Those grains of truth? Those grains of truth. So they're real. They're real. And you have some. And I have some. In a different safe. Emilie looks up. How did you know about the other safe? A fortune cookie told me. Emilie rolls her eyes. Fine. It doesn't matter how you know. They're useless to me now. They only work if eaten. And well, look at me. Orc, through you. No one asked you. Emilie, do you trust me? Not even as far as I can throw you. You can't even touch me. Your hands go right through. Exactly. Listen. What do you have to lose? It's me or the alchemist. No wonder he's after the both of us. If he gets the grains of truth, he'll be one step removed from godhood. And with godlike powers of perception, Lady Luck will never catch him out for cheating her. If I'm right, and Maximilian Haberville, probably Esquire, is always right, the lady wants us to win. If we don't try this, I'm dead and you're forgotten. If we succeed, the island is ours. All or nothing. Orc, walk the plank. Sharks and shenanigans. It's in my sewing basket, says Emilie, in a jar labelled rock flour. That's your other safe? You'd never have looked there. I will grudgingly concede that point. So, the alchemist is careful with his resources. He's not going to do anything to either of us until he has what he wants. Tomorrow night, you'll go and tell him the grains of truth have been stolen. And tomorrow night, I will go and tell him they're not in the second safe. He'll think there's someone else, says Emilie. Maximilian grins. There will be someone else. Someone else by the name of Maximilian Haberville, probably Esquire. Maximilian Haberville, probably Esquire, is shown into a small room that has been divided down the middle by a fine wicker screen fixed to the floor and the ceiling. There's a chair and a small table with a lamp on it angled to cast light on the face of whoever sits in the chair. Through the screen there is darkness. Maximilian sits and waits. Being a thief, waiting quietly, without fidgeting, is something he is very well practiced in. Good evening, says a voice from the other side of the screen after a time. The voice is deep and smooth. Maximilian supposes the owner of the voice must have been sitting there watching him wait, as he didn't hear any of the small noises someone makes when they arrive into a room and sit down. Maximilian inclines his head. Good evening. You wished to discuss something of some import with me, says the voice. There's a grain of truth in that, says Maximilian, taking care to sound slightly bored. There's silence from the other side of the screen. And what might that grain of truth be worth to you? Asks the voice, finally. Oh, I simply ask that you fall for my trick. Oh? Maximilian can't decide if the voice sounds more surprised or bemused. I have here a ring that I happened across, he says. It's a gaudy thing. I intend to trick you into this ring, like a genie into a bottle, with the lure of a grain of truth. See? He holds up the ring. You can see it here inside the ring. I know that one such as you will know that it's genuine. There is laughter from the other side of the screen. Very well. For a grain of truth, I'll fall for your trick. Maximilian smiles. There's a catch, of course. To get out of the ring, you must grant the next spoken wish of the wearer, which the ring will bestow on you the power to do. There's always a catch, says the voice. There's also always a loophole to counter the catch. There is, says Maximilian, if one has the wisdom to find it. And, continues the voice from behind the screen, I will have just consumed a grain of truth and gained godlike powers of perception. The loophole must be revealed to me. Indeed, says Maximilian. The Scoundrel's Ball is the most awaited event of the year, a riotous festival that can't be contained even in the enormous ballroom that takes up almost a whole block of the Street of Many Blessings, spilling out into the surrounding streets. Unspoken etiquette dictates that no one recognises anyone, and everyone is free to do as they please. The denizens of the Scoundrel's Quarter, and a good number of those who are generally found in more reputable places but long for a more colourful life, turn out in force in their glittering, shimmering best. A long line of the officially invited snakes towards the entrance of the ballroom, where each guest is presented to the masses by the name they've assumed for the evening. The announcer's voice booms over the sound of the band. I present to you Maximilian Haberville, quite probably Esquire, and the Night Queen. There are gasps from the crowd gathered below. Rumours begin that will mutate into the stuff of legend. Who are they? What is she wearing? That's not just a trick of the light. She's glowing. Well, I heard he tricked the alchemist himself into a silver ring. I heard she's the child of the moon and a magic parrot. I heard they've eaten grains of truth. Oh, come now, that's a step too far. Everyone knows grains of truth are a fairy tale. A lady dressed all in blue stands by herself, with a brilliantly coloured parrot perched on her shoulder. She's not wearing an elaborate mask or a veil, but wherever she stands, her face is in shadow. She's watching the new self-crowned Scoundrel's Quarter royalty circulate, skillfully feeding the rumour mill. Look at them, says Lady Luck to her parrot, a smile on her shadowed face. They'll hold this town in the palm of their hands. She smiles. If their luck holds, she adds. Lady Luck leaves the ballroom early, strolling down the festival-filled streets of the Scoundrel's Quarter in the easy way of someone who has all the time in the world and nowhere in particular to be. Her blue dress swirls around her, caught in its own weather pattern in the still air of evening. Mallory, says Lady Luck, reaching up to scratch the parrot's head, delight catching a gaudy ring glinting on her finger. We'll have to be very careful what we wish for, she says. Won't we, my feathered friend? Trapped inside the ring, the alchemist howls and is ignored. Oh, says the parrot, walk the plank. Thanks for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this story as much as I enjoyed writing this story. And if you did and you want more stories, perhaps you would like to become a patron. Patrons receive bonus stories and other things, including my endless thanks, which you can read more about on patreon.com/Can I Tell You a Story. That's patreon.com/Can I Tell You a Story. Until next time, I hope that Lady Luck shines her smiling face upon you.